Holding public office shouldn't be a lucrative career. Serving the people should actually come from a place of wanting to serve people. But as long as getting elected comes with all the perks of being a CEO at a Fortune 500 company, many people who seek to hold office will only do so for their own benefit. Look at the wealth, prestige, and power these politicians get by working for the people. It's obscene. Rewarding politicians like this turns their focus away from governing over to staying in power, and gaining more power, and making more money. And why wouldn't it? After all, these are just people with all the same flaws that the rest of us have. Could you imagine having a job where you could just vote yourself a raise? It would be hard not to, wouldn't it? Did you know that a senator gets over $3 million a year to pay for any type of official expenses they incur, including their travel, office personnel they hire, and office supplies? $3 million. That's how they can afford to fly first class and eat five-star dining on a regular basis. Some people actually argue that a senator only makes $174,000 a year, as if being in the top 10% of income earners makes you want to quit your job and jump into the private sector job market to see if you can find something better. Others argue that we need term limits, which I think we do, but we also need earn limits. A $3 million budget and a salary that puts you in the top 10% is way too much for a civil servant. And that's not including the connections, corruption, and insider information they get. But let's talk about term limits for a second. In my opinion, what term limits would do is make the decision makers actually have to live with their decisions. Career politicians don't know what it's like to have to make payroll, and they don't understand what red tape is because they've never had to navigate it. Imagine being a maze creator, but never having to actually go into the maze. That's what the private sector is up against with career politicians. Thomas Jefferson, who supported term limits, said this about holding public office. In a virtuous government, and more especially in times like these, public offices are what they should be, burdens to those appointed to them, which it would be wrong to decline, though foreseen to bring them intense labor and great private loss. What he's saying is that holding office should be very hard work and not financially advantageous, which is the complete opposite of what it actually is today. Senators only work 162 days out of the year. They have a budget that allows them to rub elbows with the high society types, and they get paid better than 90% of the people slugging it out in the private sector. Not only does it look like it's time for term limits, it looks like it's time to reduce their pay and benefits. James Madison was actually against term limits because he thought that frequent elections would be enough to stop corruption and abuse. Well, he was wrong and Jefferson was right. Politicians are not burdened by the office they hold. They're not suffering any financial loss. And they definitely aren't working that hard. They don't even read most of the bills that they vote on. In the private sector, they'd get fired for being so work shy. Even though our founding fathers didn't agree on term limits, they did agree on what it meant to be a civil servant. It's supposed to be a burden, a setback to your private life. It's supposed to be something that you felt compelled to take on for the love of country and your fellow Americans. As Jefferson said, by throwing the rascals out from time to time, they will remind government that it exists to serve us, not the other way around. And that's the simple truth. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to become a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic, check out the links in the description and give what you can.